Welcome to another edition of Wings Weekly. Jay Klein-Connect here along with head coach Scott Langer. Coach, home and home this past weekend with the Brookings Blizzard, a narrative that will be repeated. But you guys come up big on Friday night with your home opener here at the Odde Ice Center, and about 1,300 people, 1,350 or something like that here cheering on your Aberdeen Wings. And again, the boys did not let anybody down, that's for sure. They put up 8 goals, and Noble got them going early, just a minute 54 in. Certainly some things that can be worked on in that matchup as well. What do you take away from Friday night?
Well, it's a good start. We got out of the gates pretty good. We were going at a pretty good rate. You've seen quite a few guys chip in and be a part of that, success there early on. And, we just let off the gas a little bit in the third period. And I'm a big believer that went into Saturday night. It's not an on and off switch. You can't do that at this level. And, as good as we played, there was parts of our game that were really bad that, we have to learn from. Mm-hmm. But certainly it's nice to win the home opener at home and score 8 goals and have that crowd behind us. That was a lot of fun.
Yeah, it was fun for everybody. And one of the big catalysts, was Joey Strada. He ends up with 2 goals and 3 assists in that matchup. Like you said, a lot of guys chipping in. It really seemed like an all-around team effort. And Brookings gets a couple of goals, one of which a kind of fluky one from the red line, and they kind of claw their way back in a little bit. And I know that's something that you have talked about in the past, and last year and so on too, that it is something that's important to play 20 minutes every period. Do you think that's maybe a product of the age sometimes at this level?
Yeah, no question. It's kids this age, they have some success, they tend to let off the gas a little bit, and that's where the coaches come in, and it's part of development and teaching, where they're learning that that just doesn't work, and it's not going to be it's not something that's going to help you get to the next level. So you have to prepare through the week, and then you come Friday night, you got to be prepared, and it's got to be 60 minutes, and and in this league you usually play 2 in a row, so you have to put that aside real quick, and you got to be ready to go the next night with how tough this division is.
Well, and Saturday down there in Brookings, of course, that ended up being a 5-2 loss, but really it seemed like a different Blizzard team. And there was some discussion previously that you mentioned last week that you kind of expected a chess match with Coach Mo Mantha. He's been around the league and around hockey a long time. Do you see anything different from Brookings on Saturday, or do you believe, like you mentioned, that it was partly just kind of a little bit of maybe hangover almost from Friday?
Well, it could be a little of both. There's no question Coach Mantha had that team prepared and ready to go. They came out from the drop of the puck and they dictated the game. I would say, the full 60 minutes, they really took it to us. And a little bit of that is our guys letting off the gas and not being mature enough to understand how tough it is to win in this league. The other part is, what a great job by that, group of players and coaching staff to not let that night prior get to you and just go back to work. And they did that. They had a great game. They made a lot of adjustments that were helpful to them. And, but we're going to be on top. Our guys are going to learn real quick that what you did the night before means absolutely nothing once the new day comes around. And we're working through that. It's learning to win is a process. Yeah. And, we're going to continue to work on winning.
Well, the Wings 3-2-1 right now, and a home coming up with Brookings. And of course, we'll talk about that matchup coming up here in just a moment or two, even though a lot of it may seem a little redundant after playing the same team 4 times. How about the penalty kill and power play? How do you feel about the specialty teams right now, and how are things going there?
Well, they can be better. I think that's a big part of the game, with the amount of penalties that are called in this league. But, it's so early, and especially teams take quite a bit of work to get going, to be where you want to be. Right. It's not easy at this level of hockey. So I think you'll see both units improve, from week to week. And there's no question there's guys on that power play unit that need to step up and produce. And there's guys on the penalty kill that need to buy in to what it's all about. So we're just going to, it's a growing process with specialty teams, and we're just going to continue to work on them.
All right. Well, I've got a couple of questions, actually, the one of which was emailed to me, one of them that I'm kind of looking forward to hearing the answer from. But one of the things that I was asked and thought I'd pass it along to you, people were wondering what goes into putting a lineup together, because really kind of two different teams, Friday and Saturday night for the Wings. Some guys saw some ice time that didn't Friday and so on. What goes into that decision?
Well, and there's a few things. I mean, one is effort, for sure. I mean, guys that brought it the night before most likely are going to be in the lineup the second night. Sometimes it depends on how your schedule is going, and if you need fresh bodies in there, you're going to have to do that. But we have quite an extensive stat package that we use, and we track, everything, from block shots to turnovers to chances against, to physicality, and they all equate. And there's guys that prove that they need to be in the lineup based on those stats because they don't lie, and there's guys that prove sometimes that they just didn't want to put the work in the night before. So you got to go with other guys, but and then there's also the gut feel from your staff. We do a lot of talking about what our lineup's going to look like and what our opposition is and what would be the best fit.
Who's going to be the hot hand for the night? That is interesting, though, because basically what it comes down to is it's up to them to make it so you have no choice but to play them, with, as you mentioned, all of the different stats that are out there. We're going to take a break here, folks. We'll hear from one of our sponsors. We'll return with some more fan questions and a look at what's coming up this weekend.
Let's make a taco. No, seriously. Start with a tortilla, soft tortilla. Warm it, kiss it, don't kiss it. Chicken? How about tequila lime chicken? Now we're cooking. Slice this, peel that, snip those. Salsa? Verde. Cheese? Cotija. Oh, forgot to mention. Guac. That's better. See, anyone can make a taco, but we're not anyone. We're Qdoba, and these are knockout tacos. Qdoba Mexican Eats. Choose flavor.
Welcome back to Wings Weekly. Jay Kleinknecht and head coach Scott Langer. We continue on. Coach, one of the fans had emailed me a question that was curious how much you watch other teams around the NAHL, or do you only really focus on the team that you're playing that week?
A little of both, actually. We're certainly pre-scouting ahead. There's a little bit of that, but I would say the majority of your time during the week is spent on the opponent that you're going to play this weekend. In our league, we tend to play the same opponent twice in a row. Yeah. So it's a little easier that way, but your focus needs to be on your very next game and not to get too far ahead. But, Coach Bone does a ton of the video pre-scouting stuff. But yeah, we're constantly watching video, and there's also quite a bit of video watched just on your team. We're working through some of our stuff, and then on top of that, we're working through the game plan in order to put the best foot forward against the next opponent.
Well, this kind of actually ties in a little bit with what we were talking about prior to the break about putting a lineup together and the gut feeling and so on. Are there some teams that certain players or certain lines or so on kind of match up better against, and you almost have to juggle some things around like that sometimes? Yeah,
for sure. I mean, when you look at all the stats behind the scenes, the stats that the fans necessarily won't see,
right?
All the little things you're going to see. We're able to track stats against certain opponents. So, for example, if we're playing Brookings, we can go right to Brookings, click on Brookings, and it's going to tell you exactly who's done what, against that opponent. And as the season goes on, there's definitely some tendencies there that you'll see, for example, Joe Strada, what he does against Brookings, and probably a good idea that he's in the lineup against them. And you're going to see guys that potentially have struggled against a team like Brookings. And, that makes your job as a coach that much easier, because it's, when the game's going on and you're watching and you're trying to adjust against the opposition, you're not always focused on individuals, and that all surfaces within video.
Yeah, I can imagine. You're more big picture during the game. And again, going back, I guess, a little bit again, you mentioned how Joe Strada played on Friday night, and it really seemed like, and again, this kind of ties back in with some moves maybe that Coach Mantha made. It really seemed like part of their game plan on Saturday night was to take him out of the play and make sure that he wasn't able to handle the puck much. Anything else that you saw from Brookings that maybe surprised you a little bit?
No, not surprised. I mean, they played us hard all through exhibition. I mean, they play with speed. You know, they like to activate their D and get them up in the rush. And you probably noticed, I think, 4 of their goals were off the rush, where they did get the D in and supported the rush. But I don't know if anything was what's much different. It was just that they did it very well against us.
Okay. Well, and that goes towards this weekend. Of course, another home and home. We've swapped days, however, and Friday will be at the Larson Ice Center against Brookings again. And when you play a team, as you said, 2 times in a weekend, it's one thing. But to play a team 4 times back to back, is it make things a little easier, or does it make things a little bit more complicated when it comes to game planning?
I don't think it changes. Yeah. I think as far as preparation goes, it's going to be the same way. I mean, I think the mental part of it definitely comes into play. With them playing as well as they did in their own building, I would guess that, in the back of our players' minds is some doubt. And I would say that, we're going to work through the week to take away some of that doubt. And that's just the level. That's just the maturity level of junior hockey and the age group. So, but the best thing is you watch on tape, you look at, why you lost that game and some of the real easy fixes. And I think our guys see that. But I don't. I think we're going to approach it the same way, even though you play in the same team 4 times. You got to execute, and you certainly have to take away the time and space from a team like Brookings, because they can sure skate.
Yeah. All right. Well, another question from a fan, and this one's kind of interesting. She asks in one sentence, "How can you not like ranch dressing? It's the best."
Yeah, there's nothing good about ranch dressing. The smell, the way it stains. Keep it away from me, please. It's bad stuff.
Oh, there you go, folks. There's your answer. That's pretty much all I've got as far as, again, playing the same team. There's not a whole lot new to talk about in that regard, so I don't want to end up just kind of repeating ourselves here. I do want to mention, of course, that we're back home Saturday night, October 7th against Brookings. It is college night. So bring a valid college ID, show it at the door, and receive $2 off admission. College night on Saturday, October 7th, when the Wings are back in action here at the Odde Ice Center. Of course, Friday night, they're at Brookings. The game can be seen on Hockey TV or at Buffalo Wings and Rings in Aberdeen. Listen to the game on 94.1 The Rock and HubCityRadio.com or the Hub City Radio app. That'll pretty much wrap up this week's Wings Weekly.